First things first about the whole crossover thing. Like when we first heard about it, the first thing I said is, are we all going to wear spandex? Like, what's the deal? That was my whole thing. Like, it's a Superman crossover, like some type of comic book crossover, right? So I was like, do I get to wear like a headband or something? Yeah.
You mean your regular attire, sir?
I like to call it my Monday dress.
You don't want to see me in spandex.
Welcome to the Wrong Indian Podcast.
Welcome back to the Wrong Indian Podcast, Season 3, Episode 4. We are the Native Americans of all trades, masters of none. And today we have a special crossover episode with REZponse Roundtable. Wits kamadum venti, amai Tádits, what's on Mamulik, Kenrick, Escalanti, American, Mamulik.
Hey everybody, my name is Melody Lewis. I am Mojave Tewa Hopi, and I am the principal for Indigenous Community Collaborative. We're so happy to be here.
Hello everyone, my name is Turquoise Sky Devereaux. I am Salish and Blackfeet from Montana, represent the Flathead Rez down here in Phoenix. And I am the lead consultant for Indigenous Community Collaborative. I started my own LLC called Indigenous Sky LLC. Yay!
Nice. Awesome.
So hit me up if you need some trainings on creating culturally safe spaces for Natives and education. So happy to be here today.
Hello, everyone. My name is Lynette Lewis. I am Navajo Diné. I am the Director of Basketball Operations and Program Development for the Navi Foundation. We are a nonprofit organization, and we are having our biggest event coming up July 11th to the 17th here in Phoenix, Arizona, where we host the largest all-Native American high school basketball tournament in the nation.
Nice.
I'm happy to be
Awesome. Hello, I'm Jon, a.k.a. PanicWithJon, and I'm part of the Wrong Indian podcast team. So it's nice to see you guys.
I'm Paula-Marie Herbert, also known as Honeybee Marie. I'm with Wrong Indian Podcast and currently independently owned and operated. So it's good to see you guys and welcome.
Hi, my name is Brittany Schulman. I am Waccamaw Siouan, also with the Wrong Indian Podcast, and we are just so excited to do this crossover episode and just expand a little bit more into each other's universes. So, welcome.
This is so exciting, right? This crossover episode. For us, our YouTube series, all three of us collectively make up REZponse, and every time we do a episode, we always start with, kind of like an icebreaker question. So our first question, it's kind of a two-part question. So what is your favorite Rez slang, and use it in a sentence? Or what is your favorite Rez food or snack?
Mine would be kind of like, I don't know how to use that in a sentence right now, but my favorite word slang is
It is its own sentence.
Yeah. Look at that. Oh, she's all beautiful. Or something like that, Me and my buddies use that a lot. And my favorite food or snacks is fry bread. Gotta have that. Doritos, fruit snacks, and hot Cheetos.
Hot Cheetos, yes.
So my favorite is Skodan and Sudis. They're just a little bit more attitude with that, and my dad says those two things so unironically that it's hilarious when we're going anywhere. And then saltine crackers with butter and jam, or saltine crackers with kamachi is my favorite red snack.
Oh my God, I love it.
First things first about the whole crossover thing, like when we first heard about it, the first thing I said is, are we all gonna wear spandex? Like, what's the deal? You know, that was my whole thing. Like, it's a Superman crossover, like some type of comic book crossover, right? So I was like, you know, do I get to wear like a headband or something? Yeah.
You mean your regular attire, sir?
I like to call it my Monday dress.
You don't want to see me in spandex.
Yeah, I was like, spandex, what?
Or it could be a Ninja Turtle crossover, who knows? For me, growing up, I grew up eating, you know, the fresh beans on the pot, you know, and boiled stew, and you know, there was always tortillas on the table, and but as far as like a res snack, growing up, I just had my big old block of Waccamaw cheese. You know, I would just rip it off, and that's what I'd be eating. I was teasing everyone before we started. I was saying, you know, Waccamaw cheese and prunes, right? You know, that's the balanced diet. Mm-hmm. You gotta eat that cheese, but then you need the prunes to finish it off.
Yes. Oh, you guys are just making me want some Waccamaw cheese now.
I know.
That stuff is gold now.
It really is. Like, you could sell it to someone and they would pay a lot of money.
We used to say when we were kids that we were rich because we had golden bricks.
It is like eating a brick.
Yeah, I mean, I would buy some Waccamaw cheese off someone for sure.
I would too. So if there are any plugs out there,
if you're near Mesa, swing by.
I'm curious how much you guys would buy the brick for. Because sometimes it varies. Because I mean, I know I've bought a brick for like $10, $15. If I was really hard up, I'd pay $20.
They actually used to sell it at our grocery store for like $1.99 a pound.
What?
Yeah.
Easy.
What if I barter and trade? I'll give them some earrings or something.
There you go.
Yeah.
You're long.
But I mean,
You have.
Oh, I was gonna say it, but isn't it like it lasts a long time because it's like so processed, so you get your money's worth, right?
we'll break it down by day.
Lashing it all the way through.
Oh, I was.
Brittany.
Huh?
John had a question.
Oh, I was just gonna say, you guys get cheese. You guys are allowed to eat it because I can't eat cheese. Remember?
Oh yeah.
Kenrick and you guys.
This is why Jon records in a bathroom, because of lactose.
Yeah.
No, I take dairy pills. Do dairy pills? They're a lifesaver. With every meal. So
Those sometimes don't work though. My stomach's all somehow.
I mean,
It is something else.
Did you have any res slang, Kenrick?
Oh yeah. Growing up, like a lot of the girls would say it more, but collectively we'd all say like "and yeah," which means like too much. Or we'd always say like if someone was stinky or acting up or something, we'd be like, "God, they're acting all shrug." That was ours. That was our go-to all the time.
All shra.
Yeah, all shrug.
I never heard that.
It's a Colorado River thing.
Yeah, I have one too for ours, and we talk about like slang, and it's mostly derives from our language, right? Most of our slang does, and ours is hoppy. So if they were like all stinky or something, like, oh look, she looks all hoppy over there.
We say yada la or yada.
My favorite. I don't have snacks. We had meals, and my favorite every time I would come home from college, visit home. Even now when I visit home, there are 3 things that I have to eat, and that's deer hash, collards, and fried cornbread. So we didn't necessarily have fry bread because I'm over from North Carolina. We didn't necessarily have fry bread. Grandpa would make it, but we called it he just called it flour bread. But we also did a version that was just cornmeal. And you'd fry it up like you fry bread, except it's cornmeal. And it's so good. And especially when you throw your collards and your deer hash on top of it. But a close second. And this was the thing that Kenrick and I bonded over because he didn't know, how indigenous I was. It's squirrel and grits. That is my all-time favorite breakfast.
Yeah, in case you didn't hear that, squirrel.
Yeah.
Squirrel.
Wait, does squirrel taste? What does squirrel taste like?
Squirrel? No, so, I mean it's like rabbit, except not quite as gamey and definitely not as greasy.
Okay. So like chicken.
Is it like something to try?
Oh gosh, yeah.
See, and me growing up in Arizona, I had no concept of these squirrels, right? So I would always tease Brittany. I'd be like, "What do you mean squirrel?" She's like, "Yeah, you just throw a rock and you get them." I live over here in the East Coast.
You get it now, right? They're everywhere.
They're everywhere.
Yeah, my brother was in the Army, and he came home. One of the times he came home, it was during the fall winter time, and and Grandpa took him squirrel hunting. So he shot 3 squirrels, and my grandpa, not to be undone, had to shoot 4.
Jeez.
So yeah, we ate good for a little while. But growing up, my grandpa would skin them, and him and my grandma would skin them, and they'd literally like be sitting in the refrigerator, just looking at you.
Get out of here!
It's so awesome.
Wow. I think Lynette, remember we were talking about what it would be like to make fry bread out of cornmeal and fry it.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds good.
But that's basically what you do, right? Is that fried cornbread is.
Yeah. But apparently you can't use the box cornbread. I went to North Carolina and I was ready to try all of this, but nobody showed me. And you can't use the box cornbread mix for fried cornbread. That's the thing.
No, you got to get your real cornmeal. Yeah. And then I think my favorite indigenous slang has become something else. Because, as Native people, our trauma response is humor. So seeing that on CNN just actually brought into our Native humor mugs, which I'm going to plug real quickly. You can go to BrittanySchulman.com, use the code WrongIndian, get 20% off. We have them in blue and red, and that helps support the podcast. So we're very thankful to be able to share that with folks. So
we have like no worries about shameless plugs.
No. Gotta make a buck somehow.
Gotta eat, guys. Gotta eat. We gotta eat our res food.
Yeah. And they do come in red or blue. So we have the cup heavy and the cup light.
Here's the blue one.
I have. They also make good pin holders.
Oh,
yeah.
Ooh.
So there you go.
Well, thank you guys. Those are always kind of like fun things to see what type of wrestling and res food there is out there across the nation.
Okay, so we want to know, how did that idea of the Wrong Indian podcast or concept begin?
Really, it was back in 2018. I was back home in Arizona. I was teaching at the time, and I felt like there was a void. I don't know, maybe it was just personally for me. I felt like I had a void. Like I needed to get my voice out there. I wanted to be able to have an opinion, on what's going on in Indian country. Plus, I wanted to be a part of the whole idea that Indian country needs representation as much as we can get. So I literally put the idea out there on social media that I want to launch a podcast. And, Brittany just like jumped on it right away. She was like the first person to message me, and she's like, I'm in. We called each other, and I kind of like gave her this whole concept that we'd be Native Americans of all trades, masters of none, because like we're all talented in our fields. And, as I feel like in Indian country, you kind of have to be like multifaceted and talented about everything you do. Like sometimes a part of us has to be like a Native lawyer. We have to be like, we have to be like creative natives. We have to be, grassroots. We have to be everything, right? To kind of get our missions out there. And so that was it. That was really the creation of it. It was an idea that Brittany basically said, let's go do it.
And just to be clear, just to clarify, he already had his name picked out. He was like, Wrong Indian, that's the name, and I hated it. I was like, oh, that's so gross. Why are we wrong? And why are we using, but I didn't have an alternative. So I was like, okay, I guess we're going to stick with it. It has grown on me a lot. And I usually call it Natives Don't Know. That's what the NDN stands for. Because we were started off as doing just interviews. That's really where we were going. It's like, we're just going to interview all the natives we can interview. And in starting, I think at that time when we were having the whole conversations, I was like 6-7 months pregnant. So it was a very seat of our pants, slow launch.
Yeah. And I think what was good about it is that in time, it really became like wrong Indian, meaning like we're not who you think we are. Like, you know, it's like when you talk about Indian country, you know, like we're not a monolith, right? We're multifaceted. So it's like, no, I'm not your Indian that you think of. We're the wrong Indian. We're going to explain to you why, and we're going to bring on these experts to show you, you know, all the great things that we're doing in Indian country. You know, we're not all just working at the casino, you know, and, you know, hitting the powwow trail. You know, we all do great things, you know, and so that's what we're trying to do with our podcast.
That's awesome. I feel like that's a really good, because we talk about representation all the time, and obviously we know that it's important to have representation, but I think that that's a perfect example of how important it is to have that representation so that people know, and like we're the ones creating the content and other people aren't creating content about us.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's not in the past tense either.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I love that, Kenrick. I think the one thing that resonated with me when you were talking was having our own voice, right? I think when we started ours, it was a lot about talking about identity, because I live in the city and off the reservation, and there's type of thing that happen when you leave the res, you know, it's like, oh, you're too city or you're too somehow. And we want to just talk about those things too. It's not about, by doing those, by sharing our experiences, you know, it helps others that are experiencing the same thing, right? So
yeah, and I think, even with because even Mel and I, you know, like when we first met, like we're like diverse, and like I'm a res rat, and then I just randomly moved to the city alone, right? And so it's like we're so diverse too, and it's like people don't even know how diverse we are. Like people just think we're all the same, and so yeah, I think that was a big reason why we wanted to start this too, and then Lynette too. Like we're all just so diverse, and it just shows.
Yeah, one thing we always like to point out too, I mean, if you look at all 7 of us, right? We all don't look the same.
No.
You know, we all don't, you know, come from the same cloth, you know, we all have different stories, you know, and that's Indian country, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing about us getting started, we were so like, let's do it. Like we didn't like sit down and think like, oh, we should write this down. We should plan it out. No, we literally called our people that we knew and we're like, we're going to start recording. Do you guys want to do this? And they're like, yeah, okay, it's cool. Let's do it. And that's literally how we did our first season. It was just like on the seat of our pants and let's just go. I mean, we didn't have the tech for it. Like
we literally, it's just straight audio the first season because we didn't have StreamYard, and yeah, we were calling people. So there are actually some episodes from our first season that we never got to share because the audio was just so bad. So we're going back now and being able to share. We did one interview via Facebook through Facebook Messenger. Oh, it was rough. It was so rough.
And that one's never aired. So
no.
When did you guys officially start?
We started back in October of 2018.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was our first.
That was our first episode.
Yeah, but we planned it, I think, September, and then started in October. It was very fast because I was due the 27th. So I was like, we need to get some episodes because I'm going to be a little out of commission.
Yeah. And so it was like, I hungry to like want to start. And the fact that she was going to have a baby, I was like, well, can we push out like 4 of them like right now? And she's like, let's do it.
Yeah. We were like recording episode, like 2 and 3 episodes, like a day just to get it done. It was a lot.
That is a lot.
Yeah.
I think what we did was a lot. I think we did the same, Hot Tech. We're just like, let's just do it. Let's just try it out and see how it works. And yeah, it's a lot of work. We did. I'm a planner, and it really does stress me out when I don't plan. But exactly, we kind of just started and just say, let's just try it out and see how it works out, and learn as we go.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I'm pretty sure it was like probably nails to a chalkboard for Brittany when we started, because she's very like, let's plan this out, let's do this and that. Yeah, exactly. You two are the same. And yeah.
Yeah, you and Kirk are the same.
It'll be great.
I don't even think we had prepared questions. Like we literally like would have an interview and we would text each other.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, go next. You're next.
That now.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do. This is the first episode we actually like have it put together. I'll like, okay, I'm doing. That's why I'm just sitting here waiting for something. No, and I know you talked about the name. So because I'm from Montana, and so we say Indian a lot. Like, it's like we'd never say Indian, right? Unless you're talking about someone from India or
Right.
or he's Indian American. And so when I saw the name like on your social media, I didn't really understand the meaning, but now I understand it a little bit more. But I didn't realize that the NDN actually stood for something. So that's really cool.
It didn't. I changed it. Initially, it didn't mean anything.
Yeah, like I was saying, like when I was thinking of it initially, it was just like how you were. I grew up with Indian, you know, like that was the thing. Like, and you know, no shade or nothing, but it was Indian taco, right? You know?
Yeah.
Not trying to irritate the faction of this interview. But.
Yes, exactly. But when I present now, because I present for a living, and I say Indian all the time, and it's like, but it's slang, right? And people don't know what I say. And so I have to like preface sometimes and be like, oh, well, when I say Indian, I'm saying Indian, but I just say it that way because that's how we say it. And so people understand me.
We had an interview in season 2 with Red Streak Girl. I don't know if you guys are familiar with her, but she like actually behind the scenes we're talking, and she gave us this like profound, like, is this what Indian means for you guys? And we were just like, nope. You know, but it was so good though. Me and Brittany were like, we should adopt that though, right? Like it sounded pretty good, but that wasn't the reason though. We weren't smart enough for it.
So what has the journey been like since you first started to now? What were your most memorable things? Any lessons that y'all learned?
Well, my journey's been pretty good, I guess. I haven't really been with them for that long though. I guess the way it started was like I just messaged him one day. The Instagram account was like, hey, are you guys like needing help? Do you guys want another person on the show? And then eventually, like, I didn't think they would do it, but they were like, yeah, we are actually looking for like someone to join the show. Would you like to join? I was like, sure, you know. It was just kind of like, all right, I'll join. And yeah, that's how it was. And I don't know them personally, like Kenrick or Brittany. I didn't know them personally before. The only way I knew them was like through just listening to the podcast. And yeah, you know. But yeah, like I said, I messaged them one day and they said, yeah, go ahead and join us on the show.
Now we're all BFFs.
Yeah.
Among Us Fridays.
Mm-hmm.
So John and I were the fan club. I was president.
Yeah.
He was vice president. We were the whole fan club. So I know Brittany and Kenrick from through work that we have done in the past together, and I was in the background of a lot of those episodes because I would take Karina when she needed her daughter. I would take her when they would record. Like there was one time in Phoenix when they recorded, and I had C in my room. So I was really honored when they asked me to join because I have been working on my own sort of social media persona and kind of launching some of my own things. Brittany and I actually have, shameless plug, we actually have a podcast called Misadventures, and I have a YouTube channel called Misadventures of a Rez Girl. And so we had already been working on our own podcast, and when they asked me, it was like this long process of, I think we're gonna touch on this a little bit between our crossover, is am I qualified to do this? Am I ready to do this? Is this something, like, it was a big deal and a big decision because I love the podcast so much that I wasn't sure if I'm going to be a co-host. That's weird. But it was kind of like that moment of, wow, things are happening. You know, people are recognizing the work that I'm doing in my own personal social media platforms. And it was just a correct step to make. And I've learned a lot from Kenrick and like sound and the background stuff, post-production and whatnot. I roll my eyes because it's always a thing. And so like I'm learning a lot too. And it has been quite an honor to be on this podcast because, well, really quick, I'm so sorry, I'm going to go ramble. It really shows one of the things that I really love about our community is we're so diverse, and Wrong Indian Podcast loves to put the people who are the experts in the spotlight, showing that Indian country isn't just one little definition. It's diverse, and we have all these beautiful indigenous people doing different things around the world and around the country. So that was one of my, like, yes, I'm going to do this. It was more of the process of, am I good enough? So, but here I am. Hey, hi guys.
Yeah, I think it was a natural progression. We did season 1 completely by the seat of our pants. We kind of took a step back and regrouped, and then COVID happened, so we weren't able to launch season 2 as quickly as we had planned or had wanted to. And actually, there was a moment between season 1 and season 2 that I did the exact same thing, Paula. I was going, is this what I want to do? Is this make sense? How does this tie in? Who am I? Having a whole, like, I think the COVID was like a whole personal crisis that just kind of flew into really thinking about our season 2. So for our season 2, it became, let's focus on this thing. So we did a lot of Native entrepreneurship and started creating kind of segments. And so we had like Natives do what, which was all different people doing different things. And we also focused on how to dress like an Indian, which was all different fashion people that we were able to interview. So, and bringing on Paula and Jon, it was just this natural progression of, Kenrick, you and I are great and all, but maybe there's another voice or another perspective that we should be adding into the conversation. So we have our resident beauty guru in Paula and our resident young person in Jon, because, Kenrick's got the elders covered.
Yeah.
So and Jon brought the age down.
And then it became, then we became all sacred because it's all 4 now.
Yeah.
Make it in 4. That's it.
Yeah.
I agree with Brittany. I think it has been like an evolution. I think the greatest thing for me is seeing the idea that a lot of indigenous people, especially the entrepreneurs that we brought onto the show, they kind of have all the same mentality of like, if you put every single Native American entrepreneur in one pot, it still wouldn't represent like all of the nation, yet we're always fighting to be on top. Like, there's always that crab in the bucket mentality. And if we just would stop and realize we all could unite and all support and all elevate, and we would still be like, we'd still be struggling to try to be like on the national level. Right. So what's the point of us constantly being like, oh, I'm the best beater. I make the best this, I do the best. Like, no. Let's just all unite together and let's just share what we can. And, that's what I really took away from season 2. Like I saw so many entrepreneurs that were just like, look, I'm in the beauty industry, but so is this person. Why do we have to be in competition with each other? We're too busy competing with, the outside non-native business. We need to be elevating ourselves. And so that's what I feel like this podcast really does for us. Like, that's all we're really trying to do. We're trying to elevate all of Indian country, and especially like the smallest story too. That's why, like, I love when we get people on here who like just started and nobody knows them. I love that. I mean, yes, we can go after all the big, Indian country names, right? The ones with the blue check mark, but it's like, sometimes it's about the people at the bottom that, that need that elevating, not the people with the blue check mark.
Yeah, I think that if there's any lessons learned, one is just if you're out there and you want to do something, just start dirty. As long as you're starting, then that's the most important thing. You'll figure it out along the way, even if it's not perfect and you have a perfectly well-rounded season or docket or whatever it is, or, you know, the things that I like, you know, all the little check boxes. And yeah, being able to interview so many different folks, there is a through line of identity where each one of them have had to address their identity in some way. There's a through line of I learned from other people. Like there was a mentorship that happened, whether it was natural or curated. And then there's also a lot of the first. I was the first doing this or the first doing that. And that's crazy to think that in 2020, in any field, that we are still first in something as Native people. So that was really interesting and amazing. We're going to transition into a little game we like to play called This or That. It's something we do on our podcast just to, you know, that kind of warm up situation and to get to know you guys better. So I'm just going to start with two things and you tell us which you would prefer or which you would like. And also you can tell us a little bit about why. So the first question that I have for you guys is step on a snake or walk into a wasp nest?
I think I would. Oh, this is a hard one. In the Blackfeet culture, if anything to do with snakes, it means someone's pregnant. So I always try to avoid snakes at all times.
No.
Like if you dream of a snake, it means that someone you know is pregnant, or like if the snake bites you, then you're pregnant.
Oh.
Yeah, and it's very accurate. Yeah, I mean, it hasn't happened to me yet, but you know what I mean. It's been pretty accurate. And so I feel like I would walk into a wasp nest. Yeah, I feel like I'm good at dodge. Like I could dodge them. Hopefully. Yeah, my dodge skills are pretty great, and I'm not that allergic. I don't think so. Okay.
Nice.
Me, I would say walk into a wasp nest also, because I am like definitely terrified of snakes. I can't with snakes, and you know, even in our culture, it's a thing too. Navajos, you know, snakes are just kind of like a bad omen. Like, so I would walk into a wasp nest, and I'm not allergic to, so I think I can take it.
And I think it's unanimous. So I would walk into a wasp nest too. Also, with Lynette, I am definitely afraid of snakes. When I was younger, we lived along the Colorado River, and there's snakes everywhere, like in the desert, right? But also I would run into the water to avoid the snakes, and then there's snakes that swim in the water. I never could get away from these snakes. Like this definitely fear that a snake's gonna like crawl into my engine. I'm gonna get out of the car and it's gonna be there. I don't know. I'm freaking out right now. Next one.
Well, it's so funny. One of the reasons I wanted to ask is because for us, when you see a snake, you are supposed to kill him, but you got to turn him belly up because it's food for the thunders. So that brings the rain when you do that. So it's very, very fascinating. So my next this or that, never be able to speak again, or only be able to say everything that's on your mind. You'd have to say everything as it comes into your brain, comes out your mouth. What do you think?
This one is really easy for me because, well, for one, I present for a living, so I have to talk. But two, like, I feel like I usually always say what's on my mind a lot of times. Like, you know, because I work in an institution and I'm like trying to like decolonize these spaces. So it's like, you know, some people have to be like, chill, Turk, like, you can't just be all radical all the time. And so, yeah, for sure, I think, saying everything that's on my mind is fine, for sure.
I have to agree with Turk. I would say everything that's on my mind. I don't know. I don't think I could not speak. So that would be
unanimous again. I would say everything that's on my mind. I feel like I could premise things that, so again, this is like, I could probably like say what's on my mind, but I could probably like premise it, you know, like, this is what I'm saying, but this is why I said it, you know? So I feel like
So this or that, we've asked to every single guest that we've had because we're really doing the creator's work here. We want a definite definition from here to eternity, and that is Indian taco or Navajo taco.
Indian taco. Indian taco all the way. Indian taco. Yes. Yeah. Well, and I didn't really know what a Navajo, like I didn't know like Navajo taco until I moved to Phoenix, but I only ever knew them as Indian tacos, so that's it.
I only say Navajo taco if an actual Navajo made it, but otherwise I would identify it as Indian taco or indigenous taco.
Fancy. It's fancy.
We just want to be more inclusive and
or Indian.
Yeah. Same Indian taco.
That's like unanimous right there.
You heard it here first,
You heard
guys.
it here first,
But
right here.
Come home on the Rez, I'll say Navajo taco.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so we're gonna go right into our Q&A. So my question for all of you lovely ladies is like, when you guys started your roundtable, and I know that like Paula-Marie mentioned this before, when you guys started your roundtable, did you guys get that feeling of imposter syndrome among yourselves? Like, did you ever get that moment where you thought, is this something we're even supposed to be doing? Like, are we good enough to do this? Do we have the voice to do this? Do we even have the audience? I mean, did any of this like come to you guys when you guys started?
Mel, I'm gonna have you answer.
Yeah. So this is 100% out of my comfort zone. Being like, I'm behind the scenes person. I'd rather be the planner, kind of like, you guys go up front. I always push Turk, like, Turk, you answer, Turk, you go do this. Yeah. And so this, when we first started doing this, was August of last year. Started out with 3 episodes. Yeah. So when I just think about this all the way through is, you know, doubting our abilities and like accepting that, I don't know, am I capable of doing this? I feel all the time. Imposter syndrome all the time, like maybe every episode. So.
How about you, Turquoise?
I think for me, yeah, Mel and I are like very opposite. That's why we work really well together. And so for me, I feel like in my 9 to 5, like all the work that I do and like telling people how to, or like helping them serve tribal communities, right? Like I always feel imposter syndrome in that because I'm always in these westernized systems that are like don't include us. But this, I feel like this, I was like, yes, this is like an all indigenous space. We're just gonna kill it. We're just gonna be resi as we want. Like we don't have to hold back, you know. And I feel like I was like really excited for it. And I think that's what's really led to like the genuineness of like our conversation is that we're able to like, we're really just like Indians like talking about identity and like stuff about Indians, right? And so and I think too is I think it's been like like with Mel especially, I feel like we like transition now, right, to like Mel does like so much with it, and so I think it's very common to like feel that imposter. I think for me though, it was almost like healing to only have a space like with Indigenous people, like on a platform where I was like, I didn't care if we get like that many like views, like as long as we have the space to be Indigenous AF, then that's all I care about. Yes.
Oh, that's nice.
That segue, that was good. Lynette, what about you?
I have to agree with Turk. I was like all for it in the very beginning. I'm like, we can do this. We got this. I was like totally positive about it. And I think it definitely changed me personally too. You know, I wasn't like, kind of like Melody. I wasn't really the type to be in front of a camera, but that kind of like all changed. And now I'm like, you know, I'm cool with it. Like I can be in front of a camera. I can like, I feel like I'm more outspoken now, so I feel like it really has changed me personally, and it is great to have this space to do all this. You know, like we have 18 episodes now, and you know our views, our followers are growing. You know,
and you guys
quickly, but they're growing. So like, we have that support that's out there. And I think what's really keeping us, going is, the support that we're getting, the positive, feedback. So it's been really cool, really cool journey.
Yeah, and I apologize for stepping over you there for a second. I was just gonna say that, like, I've been like listening to your guys' episodes, and you guys sound very like together, like very comfortable. It seems very organic, and maybe it's not, but from us watching it, it is. It looks like very organic, and yeah, I enjoy it a lot.
Good.
Yeah.
All right, so moving on to my question then. This is for all of you guys, all three of you women. Which social media platforms do you guys spend the most on?
I'll go first.
Yeah.
Instagram. my iPhone's always like, you spent this many hours on Instagram. I'm like, yeah, but yeah, I love Instagram. I think that it's such a great platform for me, and especially a lot of the work that I do, because I try to teach like consistency and like changing your environment and information that you take in, and how that helps you understand other groups you don't belong to, right? To be ally and stuff like that. And I think Instagram is such a great way to do that, because if you can like change your algorithm to where you're like seeing all of this information, it's a great way to get educated. That's like easily just like fed to you, or there's things that you might not know. So even you sharing it on your Instagram then creates more education from your circle, right? And so for me, I love Instagram. I use it a lot for that education piece and that consistency piece in the work that I do. And obviously, like, we can promote a REZponse too on there, and it helps a lot in that way as well.
Nice.
I think for me, it's also Instagram. I have like Facebook and Twitter, but I'm kind of like, I'm not really on those two platforms really at all. If I had the choice, I would, get rid of Facebook. But, with my work, we have our own organization on Facebook, so I kind of have to have the account. But I definitely turn to Instagram a lot. Again, for my work with basketball, I kind of had to be in the loop with what's going on in the basketball circuit, especially in Indian country. So I really do follow a lot on that. So it definitely helps. And I do like the algorithms too. So, I'm really into fashion and, and all these indigenous businesses. So when I follow them, more pop up, and I like seeing all that, just seeing everything indigenized. I just love everything about that. And I'm a visual, so I love seeing photographs and, videos. So it's nice. I love Instagram.
Now I'm kind of nervous because I'm afraid that I'm gonna black out any minute here with my internet.
We'll edit it and post. It's fine.
I think for me, I'm stuck between Instagram and TikTok. I am slowly spending a lot more time on TikTok because it's it's borderline addictive at this time. But I am all about trying to consume, knowledge and information. And so the TikTok is really quick. And I'm just here, and then it tells me, hey, you've been on here a long time. You want to get off? But I like Instagram too. But those are
Do you guys want to get your, whatever you guys cover on the show, your news from those social platforms? You're just I don't think so. I was just wondering, because sometimes we do that too.
Yeah, I think, I guess sometimes, if we see people on Instagram, we're like, oh, we should reach out to them and see if they want to be a guest but I think it's, because the work that Mel and I did, with Indigenous CC is all around in identity preservation and revitalizing the Indigenous perspective. So I think for us, we just really try to push, like we're saying, how diverse and how complex like Indigenous identity is, and everybody's worthy of support in how they identify. And so we really just wanted to create a platform where we can like, like broadcast as many different ways of identifying and things that Indigenous people are doing, so that if people are watching our channel, they can somehow relate, and they can get that support from somewhere, to let them know that like they can identify the way that they identify, and it's totally fine, it's valid, and it's worthy. And so I think that's really kind of where we get that information from is more about identity than anything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we work a lot with non-tribal communities. I mean, that's kind of our goal, is to, show not only internally to other tribes, amplifying Indigenous voices for non-tribal members too. This is who's out there, and this is what's going on. I wouldn't say necessarily news. I don't know. There's a lot of misinformation going around that I don't rely on social media for the news, but definitely for awareness. Absolutely. Yeah.
You actually segue pretty great into my question, which is, was Indigenous Community Collaborative always a part of your launch of the podcast, or was it something that came out of your podcast? So which one came first, or how did that kind of progress?
Yeah, so Indigenous Community Collaborative, we're a social enterprise, and our whole point of doing this social enterprise was to focus on, again, amplifying Indigenous voices, but collaborating. We want to collaborate with people that are already doing amazing things. We don't want to recreate the wheel, right? So when we first launched this YouTube series, we chose to, again, try it out, but we collabed with another YouTuber. Her name's Raquel Quinones. I can never say her last name, but Cal's a funny girl. And so we reached out to her because she was already doing amazing things. And I just remember Googling like universal wrestling, because we were actually collaborating with Navi Foundation doing a virtual education summit. And I was like, I only know slang from my res, and Turk only knows from hers, and we're trying to think of like, what's a universal wrestling word? And I just randomly Googled it, and Raquel came up. And so then I just reached out to her, and I was like, Raquel, I'm so-and-so, and this is what I do. Do you want to collab on an episode? But again, this whole part of, again, looking at the diversity among, Indian country, I think it's always, what we do has always been a part of not only our social enterprise, but everything that we do is that community building and the amplification of Indigenous voices. So I would say that came first. That was a basis and a passion for it. Turk, you want to add anything to that?
I think that's a perfect way of explaining how this all started. And I think that in itself just shows like really how even in like, I think because res slang, because I remember Mel and I met and I was like, and I don't remember it was golly. Oh, yeah. So and Blackfeet saying like golly means like you have no shame, like you just like do whatever you want and you don't care. Because me and Mel met, we put together a Native Youth Summit the first time we met. Like we organized the whole entire Arizona Native Youth Summit, and I remember I was bringing these kids to the youth summit or these youth, and we stopped at the store and we had Mel's credit card, and one of the youth was like, oh, we got Mel's credit card, okay, we're gonna buy whatever we want, let's go get as much snacks as we can, like just grabbing all these things. And I was like, geez, you guys, go being so golly, like just get what you need, you don't need to get all these extra snacks. And so I remember I was telling Mel like, oh yeah, they were just being golly, and she's like, what's that mean? And so I feel like we realized like, dang, like, because pretty much almost every res like has their own slang, and a lot of people don't know that. And so it's like we had to code, and we know what code switching is, and so like we have to code switch so much like in our normal life. But even like between, I feel like because I'm from 2 different reses, and sometimes I code switch between 2 different reses even, you know. And so for us, I think it was just that diversity piece again of being like, let's just have like our REZponse, right, in terms of like code switching, but then also like that we're so diverse, and that's really like where it started, and that's how we collaborate, is to have that representation of the diversity of natives. So
that's cool. That's crazy too, because like, you know, growing up, I didn't know like because now I'm seeing it now on social media, right? Like I didn't call Pepsi. I never said Skoden and all those different, like that wasn't our region. Like that's not what we did. And I think it was your guys's one of your guys' episodes I saw. I think it was Lynette who mentioned like one of the words she uses is wah. Right? Right? You want to make correct on that? Yeah, because we use that all the time too on our res. Like, so like I was like, oh, okay, I identify with what she's saying. That's all we used to say all the time. Like if anyone did something like ridiculous, we'd be like, wow, look at that guy.
You know what's so interesting is golly. My family says, I don't know if it's a Diné thing, but it's like, instead it's like a response to somebody insulting, like golly, you're so mean.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So that's how I know golly.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. Because I mean, yeah, that makes sense to me. But it's crazy how like different things can mean different, or the same thing can mean different things.
Yeah.
But you know, yeah, can I just say one more thing too in response to your question? Like just this right now, all of this is like, it allows for us to connect, right? In spaces. That's the whole point of the YouTube too. It's like, what is it like being native in spaces and situations? And so we could share what it's like with our experience, just in case, again, somebody else is dealing with the same thing and can take advice from our situation or from our experience. But it's ultimately connecting us.
Right. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry. I have one little thing. It's just I'm like going off the rails. I apologize, but one thing you mentioned, Melody, before off air, that you were going to go down to my area for croissants, and you mentioned the cocoa paws too. And growing up, I used to think it was so funny because the cocoa paws they have a way of saying like "wah," but they say like "what," like that was like a thing for them. Like that's how they say it. And so when I first saw Whataburger for the first time, I was like, yay! Just own Whataburger, like I don't know. I mean, this whole conversation made me think of it, and I just I had to put it in the space. So,
are you hungry? Because I am.
Yeah, Whataburger sounds delicious right now.
A honey butter chicken biscuit would be great right now. But if there's anything that y'all could share with young people about starting a podcast, creating content, being Indigenous and non-Indigenous spaces, what advice would you want to share with some of the young people? We like to ask that, because we're elders. Oh,
go ahead, Mel. You go first.
Yeah, I think for me, we actually just did a presentation for Phoenix Indian Center. We're talking about what it was like to be a creative. And some of the things we kind of brainstormed during that session was like, what are some of the challenges in doing this? Like, there's a lot of successes. Absolutely. There's a lot of like good things that come from doing something like this. But I would say my feedback for anyone that's trying to do this is you're always going to have this moment or this time as you're going through this journey, creating content where you're going to be like, how am I saying this? Am I saying this right? Should I say something like this? Or should we even talk about these things? And in the space of being a creative, it's almost necessary if you're putting it out to the world, your thoughts and, your ideas, that you're going to get feedback and criticism from other people. It's just part of being a creative, It's like, so I think for me, I would just say that just do it. Like there is somebody out there that's going to connect with your story and it needs to be shared, but just accept that the feedback and criticism is going to come along with that, but don't let it discourage you and don't let it create self-doubt for yourself, and that's my feedback, is just start.
Yeah.
me, I just want to say, just get out of your comfort zone. We're so used to doing things our own way, and it's good to try new things. And, we as Native people, I know some of like Native youth, they're so shy, like, they don't want to speak out or, but, they have a lot of things on their mind. I'm sure they want to share, they want to like, tell others, but I don't know what it is, but they kind of keep to themselves, and creating something like this will definitely get their voice out and just to be heard. So I think getting out of your comfort zone, trying something different, definitely do it.
Yeah, I totally agree with both of those. I think we just one of our latest episodes is with Outlast Film Camp, and they do a film camp for Black and Indigenous, or they do a film camp for Indigenous youth in Pine Ridge, South Dakota. But their whole mission is for having that representation media for Black and Indigenous youth, and also that solidarity piece between Black and Indigenous communities. And I think that's one of the biggest, takeaways, even from if you watch that episode too, is that creative piece of, giving or letting youth have a space where they can just create, but then also, teaching them that it's important to take what I call like healthy risks in like reaching out or just doing it and seeing like where it goes. Because like we come from hundreds of years of our ancestors who have always been creative people who have learned how to utilize creativity as a way of like making it through everything we've been through, right? And so like it just continues with the youth, and I think them, not only like, I feel like us, because we know mentorship too is like such a huge part of how Indigenous people like thrive, because we're all about connectedness. And even that with the youth, right? I always say, like, if you want to reach out to someone, another Native person or anyone who you see is already doing what you want to be doing, just reach out. Like, take that healthy risk and reach out, because you never know, and that could become like a mentor for you if that's what you want to go into. And so I think it is, it's doing it, because you are the expert in what you want to do and who you are as Indigenous person, Indigenous youth, and so whatever you create is going to be as worthy as any other Indigenous creative or any other Indigenous artist. And so it's worthy of that support, and that puts you in a position of being able to depict who you are instead of these westernized systems telling you who you are. And so so I think that's really it, is just take those healthy risks and reach out.
And I will say one more thing. Turk, I love it. I'll say one more thing. If anyone's watching this now and you have any questions, or you want to come volunteer, or you just want to see what we're doing behind the scenes, you're more than welcome to. If you need any help with anything, to contact myself and Lynette and Turquoise. Just direct message us and we'll figure it out. If we don't know, we'll find somebody that does. So.
Wow, I mean, Turquoise, what an amazing answer that was too. I mean, geez, I don't even know what to do now.
We call them on our channel, Don, our producer, he calls them Turk rants. Like, oh, here Turk goes on her Turk rant, and then it's like, because I'm just like, I get real deep real quick, and I'm okay with that, because I think it's important, especially when I work with youth. I'm like, I don't care if you like it or not, we're getting deep and we're going to be talking about some stuff, but it helps create those safe spaces, right? And so I really try to consistently do that.
Can we get a Turk AF shirt? Get that? That's what we
For
need.
real.
Yeah.
I should make those for my new LLC.
Yes,
Good.
I will totally rock it.
I think that'd be a great TikTok segment. Turk rants.
Hashtag.
Yeah, hashtag Turk rants.
So, unfortunately, this is going to be the closing segment of our show. I feel like we could talk for hours, but we're going to continue our tradition of what we do on our show when we close, and we talk about what is making you happy right now. I feel like, in the world of, especially because we just got over 2020 and 2021 is not as bright as we thought it would be. We always need to circle back and kind of figure out what is making us happy now. So with you guys, you lovely ladies, what's making you guys happy right now?
I'll go ahead and start. I think for me, it's the creative collaboration. Just being in spaces with people like yourselves and collaborating always gives me fuel for the rest of the day and the rest of the week.
For me, I would say right now it's my job. Running this big tournament. Last year, unfortunately, had to cancel, but this year we're moving forward with our tournament, and I'm just like so excited. Anytime I work on playing tournament, I just get so excited, and I think what I really look forward to is seeing the kids, seeing the coaches, just because we kind of like developed into like a big old family, so it's like being able to see my family again in a few months, and I'm just really excited. So that's what's making me really happy right now.
Awesome.
I think for me is this space obviously, but I think getting the point to us having this space right now, I think just shows like how much the work that we do in like trying to serving our communities and creating this space for other people to be in here, right? I think is what truly just like feeds my soul and who I am, and it's always just so rejuvenating to be in spaces like this, and for all of us to now go out into the world and do what we do, right? And be Indigenous AF out in the world. Then I think I'm just really grateful.
Turkey.
Yeah, okay, Turkey, yeah. But yeah, I'm really grateful and happy for this space because I think it'll set my week off really, really well. So thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like you guys all took my answer. I feel like this collaboration is definitely what's making me happy right now. I mean, it just goes back to when we first started making this podcast, is that representation matters and that we all have our own voice, especially when you talk about like capacity building, out there in Indian country. Sometimes, and I'm just going to say it. I mean, sometimes I think out in Indian country, people feel like, the best resource is a non-native. Let's get that non-native in here who's going to help us in our finances, going to help us in our this and our that. And it's like, hey, we're here, we're capable, we have a voice, so use us. We're not always the help. We can actually lead. And I think you can see that here in this episode. We all have capable people right here that can lead and be Turk AF.
So what's making me happy is being an auntie. My niece, she's 16. She wrote a long passage in a card for me for my birthday, and it was how much I inspire her and how much
nice.
like I do for her. And I'm like, okay, first of all, pat myself on the back because I got a thumbs up from a 16-year-old. And
you're cool now.
Yeah, I know, right? And then my niece, we were driving one day and Bruno Mars' Count on Me came on, and she goes, Auntie, this song reminds me of you because I can always count on you to drop everything and help me. And so like being an auntie, I'm not only in the aspect of melding children and having that influence, but also being able to support my sisters when they need a break. You know what I mean? And providing that other mother kind of situation. And so because in my tribe it's Shemayaji, so it's small mom, and so it's like that is what's making me so happy right now. Not so much second grade math, but being an auntie, yeah.
Mine's kind of in the same vein. So we got to see this week, if anyone's been paying attention to, Washington, we had Representative Deb Haaland, who has been chosen to be the Secretary of Interior, is the process of being vetted. She was just amazing and awesome and wonderful in her response, in her answers. She's also our representative where I live. So having my daughter watch her, we had a coloring book a little while back when we were doing census, and it had a picture of her as Representative Deb Haaland. My daughter, she picked up a brown crayon and she's like, I'm gonna color her brown like me, Mom. I was like, yes, baby, you color her brown like you. That's so beautiful. And then this week, as we were watching Deb for the Bears, I actually had her call our senators. I was like, come on, baby. baby, we're going to call our senators and tell them, and she's 4. So, I mean, it was like, so you say, my name is Karina, and I'm for Deb for Interior, and I'm for Deb for Interior. It's like, and yeah, so that, okay, I'm okay. So that was,
hold it together.
Yeah, that was a really, I don't cry, I laugh. So that was a really, poignant moment to be able to show my daughter another Indigenous woman and being able to support her and being able to see, you know, someone who's brown like her, who is for the bears, who is for environmental issues, who's represented us well in District 1 in New Mexico. Being able to see that process and being able to see her learn how to support her aunties. So we call her Auntie Deb here. So
thank you, Auntie Deb.
So that's that made me really happy this week. That's sweet.
The thing that's making me happy right now is my dog Mavie. She's half Dane and half Husky. It's kind of a weird mixture, but I don't know if you can see that, but she kind of looks like that. She's brown, just like us, and she has blue eyes, but minus the blue eyes. But yeah, I don't know. I just like spending a lot of time with her. You know, she's very wild. She goes, like, she makes weird noises. She goes and stuff. I think that's the thing that makes me like, oh, that's so cute and stuff. So I don't know. My dog's just making me happy.
That's awesome.
Yep.
I mean, Auntie Deb. Let's not get confused with Uncle Nez, right? Is that what it is? Is it Papa Nez? What it is?
Daddy Nez.
Daddy.
Yo, what do you call her, Rich Navajo?
What?
Johnny Cash.
I never heard that.
Oh man. Okay. Well, that wraps it up, man. And it's unfortunate too, because like I said, I know I could talk to you guys forever, but I mean, if you guys want to get more about our show, you can go to thewrongindianpodcast.com. Check us out on all our social media at Wrong Indian, except on Facebook because we got lazy, so it's Wrong Indian Podcast. So, but everything else at Wrong Indian. And you know, with REZponse, I mean, you guys definitely. Where can we find more about you, and how can we all connect to you guys more?
Yeah, make sure you guys like and subscribe to the channel. So it's REZponse Roundtable, REZponse Roundtable. And you could find us at indigenous.cc on all social media platforms.
Absolutely. You guys can see it down below. All right, guys, that's it. Is there anything else before we go for the sake of the people?
No.
Do we all raise our hands or face?
Awesome, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Talk to you guys later.